And what happens when a case is dropped? What does that mean?
That's a big question. Registration, license and registration. We drop. I prefer the term dismiss. 90-some% of the registration citations that we get, because people renew their registration on their car. They come in with a new one. Hey, I fixed it. Thank you for fixing it. We'll dismiss. You don't have to pay a fine. Case over. That's called a compliance dismissal. I know that's not what you're really getting at with your question, but another form of dismissal is we have diversion programs, where if an individual is charged with their first-time offender, they're charged with shoplifting, they come in, they do some community service, they attend a group, they learn about the benefit of not having a criminal conviction, the benefit of not, getting charged, what those downstream effects are. They comply with all those things, they show compliance, we then dismiss that because they've been held to some form of accountability. So we dismiss some of those cases. We obviously have to dismiss cases if we can't carry our burden of proof in court. If we simply just don't have, we've never been able to contact the victim. If you're complaining on your neighbor for, vandalizing something or whatever, but you don't ever show up to court, well, we don't have anybody to call to the stand to present evidence. So we drop those cases. We're required to under the law. Nothing we can do. There are other cases that get dismissed when we have, say, an individual is charged with, robbery and, breaking and entering. And they plead to the robbery and they take 4 years in prison. And they had a misdemeanor associated with it. We might dismiss the lesser charge. So those are all, those are generally those are the ways that cases are dropped. We have never said that we won't prosecute a class of crime. There are cases that we drop without reviewing and looking at what the facts and circumstances are, whether or not we can prove it, whether or not we can't achieve some form of justice through a prosecution. So we don't drop cases. That makes it sound so sloppy. We as prosecutors are obligated to exercise discretion to achieve justice. Just per the registration example I gave you. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to put the screws to everybody that comes to the courthouse. We want the better outcome, not the punitive outcome in every case, if that makes sense. Another one that comes to mind, it's very rare that we dismiss or drop a murder charge, right? But we had to recently, where the defendant died in custody. It's such a broad spectrum question I can't really answer, but I know that on social media and other people say, the DA is just going to drop the case or whatever. Again, I feel like some of those comments come back to the revolving door type situation on we only have so many beds in jail, and there's an understanding that that the DA's office is making those determinations. We're actually not. Who's in jail is not up. It's up to judges and magistrates. And when that individual is arrested and then released, they think that the case was dropped. And I think that's just sort of, these are folks that don't understand and I'm not. I just understand that people don't, I think, understand the way the system works. And that the case wasn't dropped. It might still be pending, in fact, but conditions of release were imposed that don't really require them to come back to court. And the DA's office can't really do anything about that. So I know this might be hard for a lot of people to follow, but that's my feeling about where, this sort of, the DA is just going to drop the case, A lot of times I think people don't realize that we've not even seen the case. We've not even had the case in court where we do our business.